the background.
Disappeared.
Yeah.
Is Carlos, is Sensei here?
Yeah, he's here. He made it.
Oh, nice.
And we are officially 3, 2, 1. We are going live now, folks. So once again, we're live without a net. Let's get the music rolling here while I open this up. And we are good on live on Twitch. And let's see. And now we are live. We are going live, and now we're live on YouTube. More like dude tube. All right, yeah, let's get on the big screen so everybody can see us. I gotta write a macro that does this. I did do something here that made us all a little bit bigger. I added something. You guys aren't watching along on Twitch, but welcome everybody, episode 13, pals. Welcome to Old in the Way. We're all here. And a little bit larger this week because I made some updates to the layout for the Twitch. Try to get a little bit more of what people want to see, which is all the fantastic 20th Century All-Stars as usual.
Which is really just Eddie.
Yeah, we've got a packed house here. Yeah, exactly. And beardless Scott too, I might add.
Yeah. We'll be back in proper form next.
Are you going to be able to make Christmas with this at this race or what?
Oh no! I'm not doing any of that. I just want the color back because I look like a thumb without any hair on the top. It's
Not a thumb.
No, not a bum, a thumb. Like, this.
Not a thumb. I heard it right the first time. That's awful.
So, Scott, can I just very quickly? We're 2 minutes into a show that's behind, and I'm already digressing. But there's a great documentary on Netflix called "Casting John Bonet," I think it is. And it's a very clever way to do a documentary. I don't want to get us too far off, but the way the documentary uses people who are auditioning to be in a documentary about the John Bonet murder as the people who tell the story, if you can follow that. And they're about like 6 or 8 guys who are trying to play the Santa Claus. And I don't know the John Bonet story, but that featured prominently in it. And they're a cast of characters, and even if you just watch it for that and fast forward through you could tell when they come on. I think you would very much enjoy it. So,
well, there's a documentary by Mick Foley.
Yes, he's in that one, I think.
Oh, okay. Well, we'll save that for the Santa Claus show. But nice of you to think of me.
No, he was in something else I just watched recently that was on.
He's a big Christmas aficionado.
Yeah.
And there is a documentary. I'll report back on that.
Yeah, he did one. The Darkness in the Ring. Vice has got a series about WWE deaths in wrestling, and he did one on Chris Candido, I think was the guy's name, and his wife also died, her girlfriend. But Mick Foley featured prominently in that one. So anyway, we're back.
The important news is Mike is here this
yes.
week. He ran out of excuses and things to do.
Yeah, how was the wedding? Who got married last week? Sucks getting. You're right at that age where like everybody you know's kids are getting married, right?
Believe it or not, I was at a wedding last night.
You're kidding me. Where?
Another wedding, yeah.
Where at?
Is it true then that there are 2 stages of weddings in your life? One is where you and all your friends are getting married, and then the next stage is where all your kids and
now
nephews
it's
are
just
getting
the
married.
kids.
Yeah.
Everybody I know is too old to get married now. My level of friends have gone on to funerals.
Okay.
And the kids are
yeah, right. Exactly. You're not kidding. When I traveled back east a month or so ago, I went to look at the Current to see which is the Hartford Current paper, to see if my grandmother's obit was in there. And I just decided to like thumb through the last year before I flew back just to see catch up with who might not be there when I come back anymore. It's getting to that age when you
set filters,
Yeah, exactly. But which is a good segue to our show topic today, which is pals. And again, Mike, thank you. Good to have you here. Eddie down at the water. Carlos, you just came from an event. Where were you just at?
I don't know. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
I'm having audio.
Were you drinking where you were?
Yes. That's why I'm out the water and I'm dehydrated.
Oh yeah, you were out in the sun all day. Okay, good. Yeah.
Here's that thing. I don't know. I'll disappear again.
Oh, I saw it. I caught it. Yeah, that looks good.
Wow.
And let me try this again. I don't know why. There we go. And,
nice. Oh yeah, look at that.
Wow.
We can see it.
That's cool.
And I don't know what I'm doing wrong or anything, but there it is. Okay.
Carl's laptop goes off the back of the desk.
In short, today was Today was our Hog chapter's annual Bikers Against Breast Cancer. It was a very small showing as opposed to numbers we've had in the past, but about 100 or so folks. And it was a 50-mile escorted ride, and we had and and it was nice. But the one really human interest story that I'll take 2 seconds of your time was, imagine a sergeant in the police force who's a highway officer comes up to you and says, "You look familiar." Now, anybody else would start wondering, well, you start, well, no, not really. I don't think I've seen. He says, "Yeah, I know you." And he goes like this. He says, "9 years ago." Now I'm really scared because not that many officers can say that or anybody say that. I said, "Real well." I said, "I've been doing this for a while, and I've been riding with the chapter fund. I've met a lot of your lieutenants and commanding officers in the highway unit." He says, "Hang on a sec." He whips out his phone, and he's looking through it. He says, "Did you wear an orange fluorescent
You're
jacket?"
kidding.
I said, "Yes." He said, "9 years ago, you and I were together." I said, "We were?" And he produces a picture of a group
Oh
shot
my gosh.
of 20
That's
guys. And
incredible.
there I am kneeling in the front going, like this. And here it is, this officer. He was not a rookie, but, a regular guy. And
Still
now
new,
he's the
yeah.
supervisor of this unit. And he just sent me, while I was there listening to you guys, he just sent me a group shot and his name and his lieutenant's name so that we can share and just boast about how we were working with him. So
That's
talk
really,
about
really
9 years
cool.
ago, I met this guy doing my
Very cool.
Bikers Against Breast Cancer, and here he is.
And you
popped
did. I
up.
think you just said that, but you got like the side by side for what do you call it, for posterity, so you can compare the two pictures together. Did you
Yeah.
yeah, good. All right, that's definitely. I want to see that.
Otherwise, it was a good event. It was a good, and the first time I offered to take the founder and the president of the nonprofit cancer group, Sharing and Caring, and she had never been on a motorcycle, never been anything, and she
Wow.
said, "You're going to do this." And she says, I'm a two-time cancer survivor, and this means the world to me." And it was a good day, and she was waving and screaming with everybody. So that was my riding pal for today. Take it away,
That's
Jay.
very cool.
Very,
It's also
very
cool
cool.
to know that you're in a printed group shot in some wood paneled basement.
Yeah, that's
Western
neat.
Meadows or something. That's great.
It is really neat. I had I put away a work picture that I had hanging up in one of our moves over the last few years, and it was like 10 or 15 people all standing together from 10 or 15 years ago, and it makes you wonder as you look at those faces. To your point, Scott, like, where do these people go? Where are they? And I like hanging on to that stuff because fortunately they're good people. Oh yeah, look at that. Very cool. You just barely make it out, but it looks neat. Send that or post it. Put it on your Instagram so we can see it.
I can only see one screen on my phone.
Yeah, we're gonna tell them.
Imagine that it's,
I'll
more
share
hair,
it,
less
and I don't know
stomach.
why it's not coming out clear, but
Uh-huh.
I'll share that, and you can share that also. But it was interesting. He shared that picture, and I sent him back of a selfie that I took with him, and I said 9 years ago, and
That's
the guy
really
looks
cool.
like he's about 15, but
Well, I wanted to say, you I don't know if you offloaded all of them or not, but we're gonna make a donation to the show. There's a couple of those bikes that I wanted to grab, in particular, a second to last one that I think it's a Softail that a very sexy looking paint job. But there's a few of those on there, so we will be making on behalf of the show a donation to Bikers Against Breast Cancer. Thanks for doing that, Carlos. My mother is a breast cancer survivor, and I'm glad that she's still here to call me up and ask me what I'm going to do with my life. So good to have her around for that. But any other updates from the riding weekend so far? Anybody else do anything crazy before we dive in? No.
Crazy.
Let's get
No.
into it.
Eddie.
Let's get into it, Jay.
No, well, this message is for Eddie
Yes.
about riding. Eddie,
Yes, I'm here.
next time you get a riding destination or a opportunity, set the alarm on so you can help the powers to be at the right
Yeah.
time. Just,
Oh,
just-
I'm
Yeah.
sorry I didn't make it yesterday. I
I
had
didn't
worked
say
11
anything.
hours the
Just say
previous
that
day.
alarms. One of the things
no,
that
I mean,
we
I needed to sleep.
no, no, no,
That's all.
no, Eddie. Just saying that when you're planning a trip or a ride, one of the rules is always arrive on time.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that's actually a really good segue. Always arrive on time. Today's thinking about that, like all of that kind of like timing and pressure and all that goes into planning and executing a ride. I took one recently, and actually before we getting ahead of myself, a little bit of housekeeping from last week. We need to add some housekeeping music to the soundboard. We'll take a note of that.
Mhm.
HK. All right, good, very good. So a couple from the Department of Apologies, Corrections, Retractions, and thank you, very, very good, very good. First of all, and I'm not wanting to touch off a conversation on social norms and things of that nature, but I used the term last week in our show a couple of times about riding around like a gypsy, which is this is. And I later found out that that word is not necessarily considered or was never considered to be maybe not there's a good term for this that's like basically not politely used anymore, like wherever you stand on political.
It was a derogatory term when it was
right.
used, and now it's used even less because of it.
Yeah, and I didn't there's lots of things, like there are a couple, and again I don't want to go into it, but there are terms and phrases in my lexicon from like watching Looney Tunes and stuff like that that are probably not okay to use nowadays. So anyway, these things change.
I recently said someone was my spirit animal, and someone told me you probably want to wipe that one because that's appropriation from a Native American culture.
Oh.
So,
yeah.
You're right. I never even thought of that.
Yeah, I am.
Yep.
Yeah.
Like we're using it in a way where we're trying to offend somebody, but I would hate to think that I even accidentally offended.
Yeah,
somebody.
exactly. There are battles. The spirit animal one, I would die on that hill because I'm all about cultural appropriation because I grew up sans any real culture other than what you could call like the kind of mayonnaise, American cheese, Connecticut culture.
Well, you did go to Joshua Tree though, right? So
I did. We're gonna get there. And that means like, does that mean now you guys would that probably means I can't wear my Rasta hat either. But at any rate, so gypsy, not a word that's considered polite use. Didn't even know that anymore. Who knew? So lots of people probably. But so apologies to the Romani or any folks I may have offended there. And also Buttfuck Arkansas. I just like to reach out to the Buttfuck Arkansas Chamber of Commerce.
I don't think is a real place.
Yeah, there's actually more to that. I don't want to further derail us anymore, but we can put that put a pin in that for a future discussion.
There's
So
a Coxsackie, New York, I found out.
Hey-o.
It's an actual place.
It's
so.
true. It's true. I love that. I love that town.
Yeah, that's what am I do what are those things about being on the road in the middle of nowhere and finding some of these oddly named places that you want to pull over and stop and take a picture with a sign? There's been a few of those I've seen recently. So yeah, definitely we apologize to the good folks in Buttfuck, Arkansas, and to anybody who may identify as a gypsy or not or whatever. I'm moving past that. So on to the subject matter today, which is the theme for the show I had in mind was pals, and that's the name of the episode. And I want to talk about, and you guys jump in, please don't hold your questions. I took a trip a couple of weeks, about a week ago actually, and if you follow my Instagram at the Dude of IB, which I hope you do, you might have seen some pictures and some videos from that. But I was itching to get out of the house. I work from home, so I'm home a lot, and I've started to notice that after a while, like, I can't empty the dishwasher or vacuum anymore without being like, I just need to get the hell out of here. So that's a good excuse to go travel. And my work is kind of slow right now, so I can flex a little bit and cut out. So I started to search and said, I want to go and I want to travel. And I think, like one night, I want to start to get practice kind of overnight trips, get Larry to stretch his legs. Larry's of which they're very small. My little sausage dog, who's my new pal. So I figured a one night trip would be good, and I did a search, and it was actually Viking Bags had a article on their website about, and I'll take a quick look at it, which was places to go in southern or in California where you can camp anywhere in California, and one of them that their top 5 must go places was Joshua Tree. So that's what made me take the pick there. Now, have any of you ever been to Joshua Tree?
No. No, I can picture it from what I've seen in photographs.
Yeah, I mean, my knowledge was like the U2 album. Yeah, exactly. That was about as much as I knew too. But since I've moved to California, we've spent a lot more time, vacationing and riding around and exploring. So I know it's what I think is technically called high desert. So it's up at like over, I think it's like 4,000 feet or something like that. So it's high elevation desert. And it's about northeast of where I am in San Diego. It is a national park, and it's a really really interesting place to visit, and I definitely would recommend you make the trip. But I figure it's going to be good enough. It's about 200-mile ride, so that's far enough where I can get a good chunky ride in, go somewhere, stay, and then come back the next day, and it's not going to be too much of a bear of a trip. And with Larry the dog, I'm still learning what it's like to ride with a dog, and he's still learning what it's like to ride a motorcycle. So I figured this would be close enough where it wouldn't be too far off the beaten path. So that was the kind of the blueprint. Was I wanted to get out, and I did some looking around, just kind of random Googling where can I go that I haven't been, and I landed on this place called Hidden Valley Campground in Joshua Tree. Which is one of the multiple national park campgrounds that are located in the park. So that was kind of the blueprint. And now it is, all right, I'm going to camp, which I grew up camping as a kid, pretty much up until Liz and I had our own kids and started to, when you have young kids, tent camping starts to become a pain in the ass. So we kind of got out of it, and then I don't drink anymore, which is really helpful to sleep on the ground. As 30 or 40 beers will make that very easy. So I was also less interested in passing out under the stars as wild and adventurous as I used to be. So this was a bit new. Now I got to ask, when was I don't know. For camping trips, who else camps here? I know, Newman, you recently camped in your backyard. Does anybody else? Mike, you camp, right?
In the snow in my backyard, but that was not exactly roughing it.
Yeah, Mike, and you camp. You do 4-season camping too, don't you?
Yeah, I did winter camping twice, which is really rough.
Which is most unpleasant.
Nothing says roughing it than sleeping in 20 degrees with snow falling on top of your tent.
You see it. You can see the snow line rising up the tent.
No, you can actually hear the snow on the tent, which is awesome.
Oh, that's neat.
And then the other side too, I've camped in bad weather, rain.
Yeah.
And I found out that my really cheap $20 2-man tent from Amazon becomes an indoor pool.
Oh no!
It literally will not keep the water out, but will hold the water in. So I actually rolled off my air mattress and I hear splash, and I'm like in 6 inches of water.
Oh no!
Oh god!
Like in that Bugs Bunny cartoon where he's floating on his bed in the mattress. That's what it was.
You live that?
Gosh.
So I was like, great. I said the only waterproof part's on the bottom.
Yo, God. Yeah, I have had a few tent experiences like that. Eddie, what about you? Are you a camper at all? Like, I know you like to fish.
Yeah. I do. I am. Everything that's outdoors. I do a lot of camping.
Carlos, you probably are not much. Do you? I don't think I've heard you tell too many stories about camping.
No, because I was forever damaged for my first 2 years of Boy Scouting. From 10 Mile River, Appalachian Trail, and all that. I think it was technically. I think I called it to the March to Bataan.
Yeah, one of those. Yeah, I got you. Yeah.
And, when you had a scoutmaster, no, another mile.
Yeah.
Another mile. We're gonna get there. No, I'm gonna die.
Yeah.
No, and then it's miserable. And you can't, and it's cold, and my sleeping bag was frozen. I left the shoes outside; they were frozen. Then you try to thaw them out. I burnt the pants and the socks, and I fell into the pond. it was a traumatic experience that has ever scarred me for the rest of my life.
60 years later, Jay, and he's still
Yeah.
reliving it.
Yeah, well, I was never a Boy Scout though, but I think from what I hear, you may have had it easy.
I
So
still do, yes. And I think forever that day, if I ever did camping, I think I'd do glamping.
yeah, glamping, yeah, which is quite popular. All right, so I am.
My idea of roughing it is cellular internet.
Dial up. Well, so I have, like I said, I have always camped. I haven't done it recently, but it's like riding a bike in terms of I've done it enough times that I have camping gear, and I of course updated some of that gear to be motorcycle friendly. And after so a couple of things that there's like a million things I wanted to talk about this trip that I experienced that for me that were new and interesting, and one of them was camping or visiting a national park. You have to pay to go into the park. So, for our listeners and viewers, if you're thinking about doing this, national parks are not free. I mean, there are days that they're free. So you have to pay to go in. And then there are campgrounds in the national park, and there are campgrounds outside of the park, obviously. So the campgrounds in the park, the one that led me there was a place called Hidden Valley Campground. And in this article that I read, it is a no reservation, first come first serve campground. And if you can try to imagine, and again, there's plenty of pictures and video on my Instagram account and on our website. But if you can imagine, it's what a campground in Joshua Tree is basically. You pull off the main road, if you want to call it that, which is just a 2-lane road that kind of winds through the park. And there's areas where there's sites cleared where you can camp in amongst the rock and whatever, and there'll be a picnic table, a fire ring, one of those grill posts, and they have pit bathrooms, and that's it. There's no water, there's no service anywhere in the park. So that's basically what all the campgrounds were like, and that's what this article I read recommended. That one's
sounds lovely.
Yeah, it was awesome. And that one, I was a little bit sketched about the idea of first come, first serve. Like, I didn't want to ride 200 miles, get someplace as the sun is setting, and not knowing where I'm going to stay. So I did a little looking around. It turns out there are several campgrounds in the national park, and several of them take reservations. So I bought a year pass and booked the site for $20, and that was my plan. I packed as light as I could, as mentioned, and I'll post it again. The list of gear. What I sent to you guys, and you guys have seen it if you had a chance to look at it. I packed all of that on my bike, and managed to get it on there and not lose anything on the way up or on the way home. Obviously, had less to pack on the way home, but I tried to pack smart by using I froze steaks and sausage and stuff like that, which then become ice blocks themselves to use.
Steaks, sausages, and you were just doing it overnight, right?
Yes. Yeah. I know.
18 days worth of food.
I did. We had a ton of food.
Because of you want to have choices.
Yeah, you want to have choices, and I knew.
And when the zombies come out to attack you at night, there you are ready to throw some meat in their general direction.
Yeah.
Or that traveler who said, "I didn't pack enough. Can you spare a steak or two?"
Yeah. Yeah. There was definitely, and I still have. I'm on the hook for this. I have to go back and edit the. I have to take that list and drop it into a table so that I can mark. What did I actually use? And while we're on the subject, so a couple of what I did was I knew that I wanted to have a campfire, just because why not in the experience. But I knew that it was not going to be possible for me to get wood and bring it into the campground, nor could I. You can't get it in the park itself. The campground I stayed at was a 25-mile ride from the gate into the park. So it wasn't like, it's not like a KOA where you roll up and there's a camp store or that kind of thing. So I had to be selective. So I worked backwards from Matchlight Charcoal, which is my go-to. Matchlight Charcoal, not, regular charcoal plus lighter fluid. The stuff that comes pre-soaked in lighter fluid. You can start a fire in a hurricane with that shit. So if you're camping or do survival, whatever it is, I highly recommend Matchlight Charcoal, which I bought. Liz bought me a 12-pound bag, and then I chopped it up into smaller gallon-sized bags that I could pack around my bike in spots where it would fit more easily.
Let me interrupt you there. Okay, to take it back so that the folks who are listening, who are even venturing to think about camping, would you, in retrospect of what you learned, you carried from home this combustible material?
Yeah.
Okay. Versus, would you have called ahead? Would it made a difference as far as you're talking about something that's occupying space,
Yeah.
weight,
Yep.
and something that could be very well saying, if you find out, and I'm just making this up,
Yeah.
if you find out at the destination you're going to, in your case, you that place, or just that thing, say hi, because in there, I think knowing ahead of time, if saying you don't have to carry
Yeah.
10 pounds,
Yeah.
or 20 pounds of
That's a great
charcoal
question.
or whatever flammable material. That's one less item that you can put more donuts in, or
That's a perfect. That's a
more steaks with.
Yeah. I'm glad you asked that question, and I should. So in the planning process, and this is as much a statement as it is a question, and maybe some of this is self-inflicted, but so in my mind, I'm going to leave my house, right? And when I leave my house, everything I need for this trip has to be on my bike at that point because I can't fit anything more on it. So like, it's not like I can go somewhere and stop and get anything else because there's no more room to put anything. With us, sorry, some guy just ripped down my street with a motorcycle. So there's nowhere else to put anything. So I don't have like stopping somewhere else to get something is kind of it doesn't work because there's no way to where to put it. So I'm packing thinking I could have done that. I could have packed lighter and said, I can look for this, but part of me wanted to be self-sufficient. The other thing is, and this is very important, if you go walk, this is very specifically important. If you walk into a store and you buy a 12-pound bag of charcoal, you get a big 12-pound bag of charcoal. What I did at home was I took that bag and I cut it up into like a drug dealer into smaller bags so that I could pack it and store it in my bike in places where I had surplus, oddly shaped areas where I could stick things. So that made, you
kids at home who are listening, he did not mean drug dealer.
Yeah.
He was meaning barbecue authorized
Kingsford.
suppliers.
Yeah, these are as the manufacturer intended it for. But so to your point, I had to think like I'm not going to be able to stop, so I have to fit everything on my bike, or because I can't add more to it. I also had I also was with the dog. You're on a motorcycle, again, so your space is what you have. I was maxed out for my capacity, so I assumed I was going to go into the park with what I had, and that was going to be it. And that was, if this is self-inflicted or not, I enjoy that challenge. Like part of traveling, either with somebody or by myself, was everything I just described going through that. Last thing I'll mention is I had to time it with my 2.1 gallon tank. One of the tricky things I had to do was try to find the absolute last gas station I could hit before entering the park, because I knew that if I drew further into the park that I could get out, that I was going to have a problem. So, and I have gas reserves, but so that was how I thought about it, Carlos. Longer answer to your question, but I did not plan on adding stuff because I packed to the hilt and didn't want to be dependent on having to find something that I couldn't locate.
And again, it's just a word to the wise, because again, your carrying capacity, your Sportster versus a touring,
right,
a full road glide, electric glide, ultra classic, and Scott, for those with those type of bikes I told you, are big, cruising, more carrying capacity,
like rolling suitcases,
motorcycles. I mean, regardless. I mean, some of these, doesn't matter, Harley, Yamaha, Kawasaki, they have motorcycles that, and BMW is notoriously famous for that, carrying Samsonite luggage, is space, premium luggage, hard case, soft case.
I'm
And
looking at the bike in your background right there. It looks like I could pack a grill in there.
yes, I have a microwave, and I have a couple of propane tanks attached to it too.
So let me.
I'm picturing you in your driveway playing like motorcycle Tetris with all the.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is, and you have to think through. And to that point, I'm actually going in. My bike's going in tomorrow. I'm getting hard shell. I'm getting them relocate the turn signal, license plate relocation, and large hard shell saddlebags put on. But
nice.
I had the normal kind of Viking smaller narrow saddlebags, which I can tell you, Eddie, for your benefit, you can perfectly fit like a glove 2 fire logs. I forget what company is that makes those fire logs. They're like the most Duraflame, yeah. The Big Daddy size Duraflame, you can fit 2 of them in that. So in one saddlebag, I just had 2 Duraflame logs. And so I wanted to spend a few minutes on the having a campfire and just to talk about packing, because that the challenge of, can I have a campfire without buying firewood there to bring in. And what I ended up doing is, again, I had my charcoal, I had my 2 Duraflame logs, and I knew that between the charcoal, I could at least cook my food with the charcoal. The Duraflame logs would give me some ambiance, and I still managed to pack a couple pieces of actual wood that I bungee corded in and just kind of wove in with the pack that I had made on the pyramid that was on the back of my sissy bar.
Scott, his bike would look like something out of the Great Depression.
Yes.
When people are on
yeah,
the move,
like a pot hanging off of the side of it.
Oh, they have their whole life on that motorcycle. You
yeah.
know, except he needs that pot.
Yeah.
Swinging. And these.
Well, I have a set of horns, like those big like bull horns that I acquired from my late father-in-law. That we were trying to see if there's a way to put those on the front of my bike, but for a little what's that?
You have to be a little careful too. I don't know how it is by you.
Yeah.
But in a lot of places, it's actually against the law to bring wood.
Yes, it's very serious. Yeah. Oh yeah, big time. Yeah. Yeah, fortunately, the stuff I had was actually
Yeah, they don't want you to bring some site that's like 3 counties over and then bring firewood. It ends up being there.
Yeah.
We used to have a nice national park. Then J. LaChapelle showed.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, this and I did actually think of that. And I'm sure lots of people probably don't. In the park, Mike, to your credit, they ask you to either buy firewood. Actually, first of all, they ask you not to burn anything in the park itself, like the vegetation. But they ask you to buy firewood in the area, or in, and I'm going to use this word wrong, but it's kind of like a video game in a sense, like that same biome. And the wood that we had, we actually got a deal of wood from the same area delivered, like not quite a cord, but something close to that for like $150. Liz got. The only problem with this wood, I don't know. Side note, I don't know what it is. It's hard. I mean, you can't touch the stuff without getting a splinter. Like the minute you pick up a split piece of this wood, it's like ah. So, anyway,
Well, Jay, it's interesting to think about, because I was thinking about what Carlos said, that there might be some things that I could not pack. I could get when I get there. But I'm also a worry wart. I'm the guy that goes to the airport 4 hours early just to be safe.
Yes, that's me too.
Not having the ability to cook my food is not something I'm willing to risk.
Yeah, and I had like
coffee. Yeah, if I had to, I can find coffee or something like that. But cooking my food, I'm not going hungry.
Yeah.
Let's go back to Jay.
Yeah.
So you started off with, I'm gonna just make this up, 100 items. You took literally the kitchen sink.
It's probably close to that, yeah.
In retrospect, and you you bungeed it, you packed it, and like this. Now, your experience, you've done.
Yeah.
Now, in retrospect, you should share now. I did not need, or I didn't have to, or I could have done without, or I could have turned the underwear inside out 5 times a Sunday, and you could have gotten away with that. So. What's the lessons learned that we really want to share?
Yeah, tell me the stuff that you did not need.
Yeah,
the goofs first.
Yeah, and I think so. The first one, this is right off the top of my head, and may be dumb, but I'll take the hit if it is. I think I brought too much food, which we talked about before. So I think I brought more food than I needed.
An overnight, how many steaks did you bring?
Well, I only brought 1 steak, but I did bring
one very big steak,
one large New York strip steak, one ribeye, and then I had
the guard dog too.
Some sausages. I brought more charcoal and 1 more Duraflame log than I needed. And as a side note on that, I'll come back to.
Is a large item.
Yeah, it was a large item, but also like one of the things. Before I'll come back to I promise, to other things that I didn't need, but. I got there. Where I'm going with this is I didn't need all the wood and Duraflame logs. The campfire and the atmosphere was nice, but by 10 o'clock at night I was wiped, and I could barely keep my eyes open, and I wasn't scared or afraid in the sense of like I need to like seek shelter, but I was very aware of of how far out in the middle of nowhere I was. And I drove 4 hours into the middle of nowhere and camped right into a place, and there's no cell phone service, there's no internet, there's nothing. You're off the grid.
Did you see people on the way?
Yeah,
there.
Yeah, and it's very strange. And like
they were eating the meat that.
Yeah, I saw people running like this.
I noticed they were running at him with a funny.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's very weird, and how like there were other campers there. And it's it's very flat except for the the rock outcroppings and things like that. So where there's brush and stuff like that, it's almost like if you've been in like that Southwest landscape, like you can't see people. Like anything that's under like 10 feet high, you can't see because there's just enough like Joshua tree and scrub brush and rock. But they're there, So it was very you knew other people were there, but you couldn't see anybody. So it was you were very much alone. In that regard. And after a while, I went into the tent at about 9:30 to make sure I got to the park only probably about an hour and a half before the sunset, and that was my fault for dilly-dallying and kind of meandering my way up there. But so I had set up camp very quickly. But I hadn't like made my bed out and done all that stuff in the tent, taken out my sleeping bag. So I decided to do that like 9:30, and it was funny. Larry came in the tent with me, and then when he had like a little yellow jacket I bought for him to keep him warm, and I had a light up LED thing to put on his collar, so like he had a little light, so he was running around.
By the eagle.
Yeah, no shit. I told him that first thing we got there. This bird came over. It was like a
light going off into the distance.
Yeah, like a plane just blinking away. Yeah,
there you go.
he when we first got there, this giant bird came flying over and landed on a rock right in our sight, and I was like, Larry, you got to watch out, buddy. That thing take you away 1 second. But he got in the tent, and like I had his carrier, like his bed is in the bottom of his motorcycle carrier, so I had that out in the tent, and he got in that, and he was done. He's like, I'm not coming back outside. So I sat out for a little while longer, but I didn't end up needing as much charcoal and wood. I packed too much food.
Got the extra Duraflame log, too much charcoal.
Basically for an overnighter, right?
Useful, right?
Yeah. So but here's where we enter. So, and I'm being honest, because keeping to the list, and I do have to go back and kind of audit myself. The other things that I'm not using that I brought with me were all largely things that I didn't need to use but wouldn't have traveled without. For example,
rain suit,
rain gear. Tools.
Okay.
I have my what do you call it? My compressor, my portable compressor is like the size of like a 24-ounce beer can. It's a lot of big dead weight. In addition to that, you've also had multiple sets of gloves. I had not a ton of clothes.
You're packing though.
Yeah.
How much? The gear that you normally, let me put it this way. You store stuff on a daily basis on your saddlebag. Correct?
Yeah, which I emptied out and rearranged for this trip on purpose.
Aside from your saddlebags, on a daily basis, don't you have a sissy bar bag of sorts?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's your normal traveling capacity space.
Yeah.
You then added to those normal items your big backpack and something to carry your little pooch, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Did he pull his weight by carrying some of his own food in the pack?
Yeah, he did. I actually packed stuff in there and slid. There were points like I had nowhere to put stuff. I couldn't find a place to put a peanut butter cup. Like I was like dropping stuff
Gave it to him and it was gone.
Exactly. Yeah, gave it to him, and so it was. Again, I have to go back and look at the list again, and I will do that. So next episode we can regroup, and I'll tell you for sure what are the things that I didn't use, and also were things I wouldn't put back on the bike again. So like tools, obviously you're gonna bring. I brought 2 lanterns, so I had two of these small. I don't have one here to show you, but they're kind of can-size lanterns, about this big. This is a ring camera, but 2 I had one on the picnic table and I had one hanging in the tent. I didn't need to, but it was nice to, so.
Suggestion though.
Yeah.
What kind of a flashlight? And I say flashlights. Is it a typical handheld that you have to either put it in your mouth or hold it like this and walk around with it?
Yeah, I have 2 of those, 2 small LEDs and a headlight lamp. Yeah.
My suggestion is, and a tip that has worked for me is, get the angle 45-degree angle flashlight.
Oh yeah, like the military style.
Mm-hmm.
And you can get them in any sorts of sizes because I found, or I got this really cool. It doesn't have to be a 45-degree angle. There's a multiple. I got it as a present, and it serves. I can clip it, and first button gives me forward lighting. Second one gives me flashlight.
That's a
lighting.
good idea. I could have used that.
Third button press. It is a strobe lighting that sort of like emergency, assistance like that. And that was the cheapy bargain basement, and it clipped on rather nicely on a belt. So here is a simple multifunction, directional.
Yeah.
Straightforward, and also as far as flash emergency that was there. And then I have another one. It's got I think up to 5 functions. That more like everything like
You're
that.
blinking,
so, that's because you're working in the darkness.
Yeah.
Or you're working in twilight. You want to have your hands available. You don't want to be sticking the flashlight in your mouth. I mean, you can,
Yeah.
You don't want to be sticking on the armpit.
And those have a lens too. Yeah, those periscope style. Like I'm thinking of Nooms, the military style, military surplus style. And I just found a huge military surplus. I'll have to go to that.
And they have some really
gooseneck, and they have like the
that are LED, rechargeable, no batteries. You don't have to worry about that. And they work really.
Do they have the I'm looking for the not to get into flashlight talk, but one of the military ones had the red and blue and green lenses, which are always great for reading and stuff at night. And I mentioned that because using a regular LED flashlight, and I know we're I'll keep us moving here. One of the reasons that I wanted to go to this park was it is dark. It is super popular for stargazing. So at this time of year, and actually the season is really in the desert is like I think like October through May. So this is getting to the point where after this point it's really too hot for some of the parks close and stuff like that for camping. I don't think the national ones, but anyway, it's hot. But I've never seen more stars in my life than I did, and it was amazing. But then you pop on a flashlight to try to go to the bathroom, and you're like your night vision is completely completely blown out of the water. But I will check to see if I can find one of those, some of those gooseneck flashlights. And this is me totally derailing, but my wife's birthday is coming up, and she's
to get her a gooseneck flashlight.
No, she's a chap. She always has like chapstick, right? But she I think she loses them constantly. But also the cats are like, if you put a chapstick down, the cats are like, ding, that's gone somewhere. So,
Jay,
yeah.
Jay, to that light, I wanted to add there. Scott, you see the tour pack I have in the back, that seat. That's a big tour pack that has, and it opens up to the side. I carry a lot of stuff in there, but there is no light. I'm scrambling in the dark. I mean, I could probably pay and have that, but me being the guy that I am, I said no, and I got a straight pencil type of clip-on light in there, and one button, it illuminates so bright, it illuminates everything.
You can get a little disc that's motion active too, same thing like LED.
It lights it up, so that's why I'm suggesting those, because I find them incredibly well. And one other thing, and going back to your bike, I don't know how many, if you have, consider it whether you want to not, accessories. And I say accessories, meaning I've seen guys that put a little accessories, little cigarette light plug, for a cigarette light, or they put they
I have one.
Their phone and everything. You might consider there's plenty of these little cigarette light, little gooseneck light that works really well. Gives you the power. Again, hands free. But again, you're drawing power from the bike.
Yeah,
it might get you in a pinch where you just want to use it there.
I have the adapter for the cigarette lighter, so I can charge, so I can plug in my CB radio if I need to. Anything else that uses cigarette lighter. Also, I have an inverter.
A bike has a cigarette lighter?
No, it's not, it's like a. I was about to in true to form. I was.
Yes and no.
A lot of guys will add a cigarette
no.
lighter to a bike. To the battery, and they do that for gloves, electric gear, but they also do it if they need to jumpstart the bike. They don't have to take the seat off to get to the terminals.
Right.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I don't have it here with me, but I have I started putting together and I haven't gone all the way on this yet, and partly because I'm not sure that it's really necessary.
Jay, let's go back to the PAL. We did enough with the equipment and
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah.
Let's talk
We'll
about
get back to
riding and picking a ride buddy. Come on.
yeah, we'll get back to that. But last thing I started to say is I need to go to the military surplus to get. I'll look for those flashlights. I need to get an old bandolier for Liz's birthday. I'm gonna give her a bandolier full of chapsticks so that she can wear it, and so that way she won't lose them anymore. But the military surplus thing made me think of it. But so there's the ride itself and packing up. We could talk about this part for hours. Was it was physically challenging. Just setting up and taking down the campsite. One thing, maybe another future topic, but the wind situation. The location I went was basically straight north and then a little bit east and then into the mountains a little bit more. But there's a point where you have to go west to east through a sand cord, like a kind of a valley, which is where Coachella and all that other stuff is. And it is, so the wind is just was. I mean, I was pitched over. It felt like in a 45-degree angle. It was
Do you have a visor on your bike?
Yeah, I do. I have a windshield, but
Wind-
yeah, and it's like the amount of gear I had packed on the back was like having a passenger plus on there. I
sure,
also
it's like a sail.
yeah, so it's just like, you're just, and that was rough. There's nothing I could do really but throw on my hazards and like keep it, down around 40, 50 in the right lane because anything faster than that was just too crazy. And then sure enough, as soon as you change direction and get in a different spot in the mountains, that was done. So that was, that was
How
really.
high? How high did you pack?
Uh, not higher than my head, not higher than my shoulders.
Wow.
It is a what's that?
Can you get a hollow mannequin and put it on the back of your bike and then just fill it? Since a bike is designed for a human shape.
Yeah, I'm still learning about what
That sounds like a Twilight Zone
Yeah.
episode that I think.
Yeah, I did. I could think about doing that. We just had concrete poured at our house, and I tried to get the family on board for a practical joke where right when I asked the contractors if they minded if I buried something in the concrete small before they poured it, and the guy was like, "It's your house, man." So when they come back, we'll come out with a body, like a fake body, like we'll carry it out, two of us, and be like, we're trying to throw it in there, but I couldn't get anybody to go in on that with me. So
you should put a Halloween skeleton for the people that someday tear up your patio.
yeah, exactly. But so yeah. Anyway, it was it wasn't so. The area is a really really windy. It's like there's signs, high gusty winds. It's where they have all the giant wind farms and stuff. It's a windy, but now I know, now I know when I'm, everywhere you go in Southern California involves traversing mountains and wind and stuff like that. So
Wow.
it's, I don't have rain like here as much as other parts of the country have, but we have wind, so that's becoming kind of the thing that I'm learning to deal with when I ride out.
Is it scary or is
Yeah.
it fun at all?
For me, it was scary. I mean, it was bad on the way out, and it was really, fortunately, on the way out, I was on a more of a 2-lane country road, and you could see the trees like bent over as you're riding along, and you just know this gust is coming, and sure enough, you're like, so that is puckersome.
Oh, you mean scary as a riding hazard? Not
Yeah.
Scary as in howling Halloween sound.
It's both of those things. I mean, it's whipping, it's noisy, it's very. And then on the way back, I caught it on the highway, and at one point, I just stopped at a rest stop, let the dog out. You kind of catch your breath a little bit and get your shit
Did you feel
together.
like any like muscle pain from like the tensing up? Like did you feel like you had like a workout?
Yeah,
what I mean?
I do. Yeah,
Like,
definitely. I noticed
you
it in
need
my
to,
neck.
Like, use your core a lot with that wind.
Yeah, I noticed I used it in my neck, but I also I felt the second time around, as nervous as I felt, and I don't want to sound like over cocky or confident by any means, but the second time around, it was like, okay, I'm learning. Like I get my ride, my Vegas ride, I dealt with a lot of wind too, and it's like each time you go through it, now I can. I'm almost starting like I know I found myself doing stuff without thinking about it. Like you're watching trees, you're watching all these different things to process what's going to happen.
Oh, sure.
And I was able to drive a little faster through it and get used to it, but it was definitely like pucker country for a while going through there. I mean, just like pitched over sideways in the bike and not even riding like that for like a mile straight before anything had to change. It was very That part was interesting, but
Do you have to crab your bike into the wind?
yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you have to, and you have to like you have to be in a spot like you're gonna get blown. So like you have to be on the opposite side of the lane that into the wind. So basically knowing that it's going to keep pushing you back this way, so you got to keep moving back against it. And depending on what lane you're in, if there's cars on either side of you, that buffeting changes. So you have to be aware of who's coming around, because if you're leaning hard and then a tractor trailer comes by and all of a sudden lightens up the wind and you start going like so.
Okay.
Yeah, you gotta. There's a lot that goes into it, and there's also really scary shit that can happen if your wheels aren't balanced and stuff like that. So you've got to. Anyway, it was quite an education, but we're. I wanted selfishly talk.
And that's under dry conditions.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
wind would. This doesn't sound relaxing.
No rain, no nothing. Yes.
Yeah, those stretches were rough, but then I got through it, and otherwise it was really really great riding. I wonder how much of this I could do with other people because of how quirky I am about my own packing and timing. And like that, for example, I see other guys on bikes, doing twice the speed I'm doing in wind conditions like that sometimes. And maybe they're not loaded down and they're on bigger bikes or whatever, but I wouldn't be comfortable driving that way even if the conditions were ideal, So it seems like it's harder to find people that want to travel. What is your, I don't know, I know we're right up against time here, but what do you guys get what I'm saying?
Oh yeah, I get exactly what you're saying. When I used to travel for work, my wife used to travel for work, and when we would travel together, we would split up at the security lines. I'll see you at the gate, because we would drive each other absolutely nuts with the things that we wanted done our own way.
Yeah.
I get it.
Yeah, I get that. My daughter is
Jay, you should then, because that whole theme, really, we should bring back our earlier guests.
Yes.
Jordy and MJ, because, again, their learning experience, what they shared on USA on Harley, etc., is really valuable, because you see two people saying, we're going to do travel. And they started off with, we're going to take the whole house and split it between two motorcycles, and then realized, no, we don't need that. No, we don't need that.
Right.
Well, it's like this. And through trial and error and, technology, they were able to be on the road, visit 44 states, and be as efficient as possible and that's a learning curve process. I mean, I think I was following them in the beginning of their camping stuff as they were ready to bring a trailer of stuff and saying,
we didn't need this blender.
Yeah.
Can't bring everything there. And they became, I was very impressed with the efficiency on two equal sized motorcycles. We're not talking about
both heritage soft tails,
mine,
right?
Like you said, Scott, I can carry a microwave back there and strap it on there. You're talking about two bikes with standard saddlebags, and backpacks, and they had to be efficient and be able to ride and pack and unpack and have all the necessary gear. So with what it would be great if they tell you, Jay, that was a good idea, but you should have gotten the super duper micro mini sleeping bag that with a press of a button opens up into a full house.
Yeah.
But it compresses into a cigarette box,
Yeah, I would love to have them back on, and it made me think. One of the things I didn't need was a mess kit, which is kind of silly. Like I would always bring that, but
what kit?
A mess kit, like a kitchen mess kit. I don't know if I have it.
To eat?
Yeah, to eat. Yeah.
Okay, got it.
Yeah.
You know what else will happen, Jay? When right now this is all brand new, right?
Right.
So you're gonna figure out as you do this more often what you don't need.
Yeah.
Right? Like you'll figure out, like, you know what? I don't even need to bring the steaks. I can bring a can of something.
Right.
Open it and eat it, right?
Right.
Or I don't need the two flashlights. I don't need this. I don't need the tent. I could bring a tarp and tie it to the bike and make a lean-to.
Right.
And sleep under the tarp.
Yeah, which I could.
Right?
Yeah, easily.
It'll be the same thing with the wind conditions and riding fully loaded.
Mm-hmm.
The more you do it, the more it'll become natural, and the faster you're going to be, because you're going to have done it several times.
Yeah. There's just nothing to do but lean into it and do it. I mean, I was trying to make myself feel better.
It'll be the same thing. Like, I don't know if you have them there, but we have bridges here that are like metal grates.
Yeah.
Right? And the first time you ride on a bridge as a motorcycle rider in metal grates, that's scary as hell.
Yeah.
Right? Because the bike just does this.
Yeah.
Right?
And yeah.
I swear I'm gonna be good. I swear I'm gonna be good. Oh Jesus! Oh, you become very religious, Scott.
The first time I hit one of those bridges, I was on the Belt Parkway coming home when I worked nights, and I'm coming home. I hit this drawbridge, and all of a sudden the bike is like, whoa.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh man. And I'm like, it's got worse and worse. The oscillation. I'm looking in the mirrors. I'm like, well, at least if I fall down, nobody's gonna run over me.
Yeah.
You know. And I'm like, I'm just about to the point where, I'm about to go down. And then the bridge ended, and I was back on the road. And I learned, because there's a couple of bridges like that. The mindset is when you hit those bridges, you get like this death grip on the handlebars, because you're trying to force the bike to go straight.
Right.
Right. And what that does is increase the amplitude that the bike is swaying back and forth. The better thing to do is to loosen the grip, let the bike do this, and don't fight it.
Right.
And then it's done.
Yeah.
Right. But you won't, until you do that, you won't know what it is.
Yeah.
Right? You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I've hit a couple of like groove. You're speaking my language, because I'm going to be riding out there next week, and there's those types of groove bridges I have not encountered here, but I'm aware of them in some groove road, and I know from reading.
Boy, have I got a bridge to take you on there, buddy.
Well, wait, but what's the trick? Like you said, is like the one thing that is everything you just said, right? Is don't death grip it. Just let the bike. I've heard, keep it between your knees. Just let the bike do what it needs to do. But the science is that the bike, even though it's doing that, that's just because of the way the wheels are interacting with the road. But the bike wants to stay up. You're not going to go down. It's if you try to force it.
What's happening is because there's channels.
Right.
The tires are literally left channel,
right
channel,
right
channel, right, because it can't ride the middle.
Right.
It can't ride the middle piece, and that's okay, because you're not really going to go more than that.
Yeah.
Right? So, but when you force it, it's like the bike it starts swaying more.
Yeah.
Than if you just let the bike.
You're just supposed to let it jog back and forth, and
just let it do it, and don't get scared.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, we don't have the bridges, but we have and I forget if they do this on the East Coast, but there are lots of spots where they carve lines into the road here. It's like the concrete to keep it so that when it rains, and it seldom rains, obviously, but when it does, this helps people grip, and you get the same. Yeah.
Let's revisit this.
Yes.
And keep it in the topic of
riding safety.
Crosswinds. You're talking about riding over an object. Railroad tracks. You're talking about dirt roads, sandy roads, gravel roads. Oil, that kind of stuff. So these kind of things are important for our folks to
I think I know what the
I think the common thread, a lot of that stuff, especially like what Mike is describing of the wind, the tension, the grading, like that. Most of the rule of thumb is trying to tell you not to fight it, but to relax and go with the flow. Once you start fighting it, then you're really going to have some issues in there like that. But again, table that.
Well, I will table that, but
objects. I can give you other stuff on. I can look at my notes and stuff like that.
Do you guys, as a teaser, have you guys heard of the death wobble?
Yeah.
All right, I saw like an idiot. I feel like I feel like a little kid. I watched a video on YouTube of the death wobble, and the reason why I'm mentioning that is there are all these situations that I've learned about, such as riding on a grate or riding on grooved pavement or riding in certain winds, where you have to either squeeze or not squeeze, or let the bike move or not let the bike move, or in the case of the death wobble, apply downforce and decelerate, or lean back and accelerate. I've seen kind of so. I think a good subject for all of these things are kind of like, I keep using the word pucker factor, and hopefully that doesn't gross anybody out. But I think we have an episode coming up on how to survive the pucker factor. What are the checks that we get? So that's a good one to definitely park. And I know I brought us up against our time. We can pick this. Let's pick this up in our next episode. And for the benefit of not only my 20th Century All-Star companions, but also our listeners, we're finding our way with our format, and some episodes fit neatly into like let's talk about this. Others, are a bit more meandering, and I want to keep talking about this in particular, what we set up but didn't really get to, which is all those things I talked about, all that packing and all battling different conditions. What's it like doing it with other people, and how do you find people to ride with? What are for somebody like me who's newer, when I go on my first camping trip with a group, or something like that, what can I get away with, or what should I, what can I expect, or if like on this trip, for example, and we don't answer it yet, but if we knew we were going to be riding through a high windy area and I knew the rest of the riders were faster, would I say, hey, don't try to hang on to me there. If you guys want to go, I'll catch up with you, at such and such, turn or whatever. So I would love to hear, your thoughts on that. And it obviously extends beyond just motorcycle travel, and like you said, Scott, so we can talk a bit more about that. Sound good?
Yep.
Yeah.
All right.
Today, it's interesting because today's bikers against Crescent was only about, historically in the past, we'd have anywhere from 300 to 500 bikes going out.
Wow.
But today, it's a first, it was a poor show. It's about 100 or so. But 100 guys who understood when the highway people, this is the way it's going to work.
Yeah.
This is the way the line format, and they said, be aware, we're going to be escorting a separate group at the same time. That was the first time ever on an escorted ride you saw you could see very different groups passing each other and being nice.
Yeah.
And not being obnoxious.
Yeah.
Everybody was in line, and actually paying attention, using hand signals, regular signals. And it was good, and that's the difference also of riding with a group that's well controlled by law enforcement.
Yeah,
but that's a separate topic anyway.
Yeah, all right. We'll pick this up in our next show, which is actually gonna be a few weeks out. We are next week. I am going to be going on the road, so taking Olden away on the road, heading to the East Coast. I'm traveling out this week, and I hope to see everybody here, with the exception of Scott, unless for some reason you're planning on being on the East Coast.
Flying in. He said he did put the down payment on that BMW.
Yeah.
And I know I told him that the Ducati was not for him, but he is buying that BMW, and he did get it with the Samsonite luggage. And
good.
Model.
Yes.
The touring model. Scott said he's sold on that. He said ugly is good. And he's gonna get that.
Yeah, perfect. Well, we will. I'm looking forward to seeing everybody on the East Coast, and fly out, take a red eye Wednesday night, and we decided to even make this trip even more interesting because my newly adopted pal Larry has a bit of separation anxiety when we're not around, so. I was like, you know what? I'm traveling by myself because my daughter's already there. She attended senior prom in Hohokus on Friday night, which is, I can't believe this. She's, yeah, I know. On second thought, let's not go to Hohokus. But yeah. So, Eddie, is something on fire behind you? I caught that. It must be just a contrast of the clouds or something like that.
The contrast of the clouds.
Oh yeah, it looked like black smoke or something like that. Like seek shelter.
When you see somebody running up behind her, run!
Yeah,
run!
All right. Well, I appreciate you guys spending all this time as usual, and to everybody watching the show, want to thank our sponsor, Imperial Beach Customs. Please check out our newest shirt. Everything I love to do is illegal. This is
cool.
The Criminal's Quandary. I saw a guy getting arrested wearing this in a shirt like this in a meme somewhere, and I'm like, we got to put that on the shelf. So dads and grads, get out there. But thank you to Imperial Beach Customs, and thank you to all of you guys for being here this afternoon.
Thank you.
I really appreciate it. Ride safe. All the best to your fam. Any last shout outs before I let you guys go?
Jay, I sent you the 2 images if you wish to share of the
Please.
9 years ago, the group shot with me, the law enforcement, and the current shot with me, the guys. So you can feel free to share and
awesome
and add that.
I will. I really I'll
and as your wife's Uber driver, we will be picking up your wife and your man child at the airport on Tuesday.
Oh God, I'm really worried about these two. Like, Newman, you mentioned before about how like neurotic you are about travel. I made my daughter that way, so she's like, very meticulous. And I used to like you travel full time. So my kids, I was on the road. They grew up with that. Abby and Wyatt are great at many different things, but navigation is neither of their strong suits. And the two of them talking to each other, it's like a who's on first routine half the time. And I just can't. They're traveling together through the airport, so they don't have me or Abby with them to keep them on the straight and narrow. So hopefully they make it, Carlos. So good luck to you on that. All right. Well, I thank you guys again. Have a fantastic Sunday. Thank you for everything. We'll see you in a few
Thank
weeks.
you too.
Thank you guys again, and cheers. Namaste.
Thanks, everybody. Remember,
Take
don't
care.
talk on speakerphone in
Everybody be
public.
good.
No, yeah, exactly. Have your pet spayed or neutered. No speakerphone in public.
See you, everybody.